having me here. My name is Eimear. I am from Tullow, County Carlow. I've been here in Navan for 7.5 years, and I love this town, I suppose, and I hope that throughout the talk I may be able to share lots of the reasons why. Wild About Navan is a relatively new urban nature conservation initiative. We celebrate and explore, protect and restore natural heritage and habitats that surround us here in Navan. We're particularly interested in the River Boyne and the Blackwater too, but I think we're just focused on the Boyne for now as we're only 2.5 years kind of in motion. And we do see the Boyne and the river as the lungs of Navan itself. Later on I'll talk a little through the various actions and projects that we're working on. But the whole purpose, I suppose, is to work together as a community for nature and for well-being, and to kind of make Navan an even more sustainable and livable home. I'm going to chat through the influence that I suppose Navan heritage and local history has on our work and our story, and kind of the motivation for why we do what we do. So for almost 1,000 years, the River Boyne has played a pivotal role in the story, I suppose, of Navan, through myths and legends, and Navan, the mythical goddess of the River Boyne, she features, and so does the river, in so many ancient stories. And this for us was a really exciting piece, along obviously with the Salmon of Knowledge and Fionn McCool and lots of other kind of stories. A lot through transport and the indigenous Boyne curraghs and Viking boats and the arrival of people to our town, as well as kind of the use and navigational kind of function of the Boyne, is really significant too. And also looking at kind of the sustenance that we get from the river through the fishing on the river and the salmon, as well as kind of the use of water and the mill too. For us, we looked at just again the tradition of trade in our market square. We kind of learned a lot about the significance of the crossing point here of the Boyne and all of the trade that kind of happened and the types of exchanges that would have happened through the years. We were really interested in kind of tracing our heritage along the River Boyne through things like folklore, through Irish language, through story, and also then through commerce. And then just kind of helping us to kind of understand and give us continuity from the past into the future. Really interested in kind of the recreational kind of piece too, and maybe something that is a little bit, well, maybe not fully lost, but it doesn't exist maybe to the same way. So we're interested in looking at you know, the history of boating, and then even more recently ice skating in the 1940s, which I think my children will be really excited to see back into the future, but maybe that means climate crisis might be part of the concern too. But just how people used and loved the river, and I think that picture there just kind of really really shows just what a wonderful, fun and vibrant central point the river played in our town. Technology's too good right now. So over time, obviously the rivers have become less important in our lives, and that is through our need for road and rail and kind of maybe more urgent or quicker kind of solutions in the faster paced lives that we live. And obviously through our desire to become more efficient, I suppose, our rivers are way more under pressure. And it is primarily through human impact. And that does kind of raise some concerns around agriculture and just like the physical kind of work that's been done on the rivers, and then our own kind of waste just from, I suppose, population and just our waste. We do acknowledge that there is a need for agriculture, for food production, and for lots of other reasons. But it's just that we have to kind of look at the unsustainable kind of practices and just, I suppose, how that looks to threaten the biodiversity through just the different kind of land uses and the intensification of the land over time, and also the impact that that's had on the pollution of the freshwater around us. So we work with researchers just to kind of learn a little bit more about what we are doing, the harm, and also like the more positive kind of opportunities that we have. What we have learned really, I suppose, through our project is that it is through reconnecting with our past that we've been able to find a really obvious and clear kind of roadmap for our future. So we have loved exploring the history and learning from our ancestors, more recently and way back when, and looking at kind of the ancient attitudes that we've had to place our appreciation for nature and kind of that sense of belonging. And then it's just been really, really joyful to look at the monuments along the river, all of kind of the art and kind of the sacredness of the rivers and the nature and the environment. And this is really, I suppose, what kind of makes us want to be part of this Wild Event Navan project. So we realise that there's no doubt now that people are reconnecting with nature for well-being. I think like the COVID crisis really kind of helped people to become more attached to the place where they were. We were bound to it, right? Our 2 kilometre radius made us just have to appreciate it, but I think that's been a really a gift, really, to be honest. And then it's kind of made us ask questions around the climate crisis or the biodiversity crisis. We've been working with the Boyne Rivers Trust. We founded a new river action group for the Boyne Valley, so it's not just, or it definitely does include Navan, just like we talked about a little bit earlier, and just having people and communities work better to protect our rivers and improve quality. And then we've found lots of people who are really desperate to work to repair damage that's been done and to restore the nature. And really what we're essentially kind of working towards is to re-establish an ecologically healthier relationship and a connection between nature and culture and heritage. But our approach is all around being curious and not furious, so it's not like giving out to people or coming down with the stick to complain or give out, but really just to try and kind of celebrate and gather people, the local tribal people together to kind of do this together in unity. So how do we do it? We celebrate and we explore together. So we want to learn about the histories I've talked about and all of the natural assets that surround us. We work together, so it's all about building a more sustainable living environment, and that's in terms of social inclusion, kind of the environmental kind of piece as well. We want to focus on celebrating the wildlife that surrounds us. I think sometimes, particularly in urban areas, you almost forget or ignore that we have so much around us here, and maybe through the grate and the bricks and the mortar you kind of don't see all that kind of lies beneath or between. So we're excited about kind of magnifying that and sharing that with more people. And it really is through learning from people who live here, people who are of Navan through through the years, and all the new people that are coming in, and to kind of learn from each other. There's been a wealth of information and knowledge share coming through that experience. And then I guess the guiding kind of roadmap for us has been a community action plan, biodiversity action plan that actually has steps purely listed from an ecologist who worked with us to see actually how can we make improvements locally. Here's just some lovely pictures of us along the frozen ramparts during the winter with a community group of people, and then up in Dalgan Park is an amazing resource as well, so we bring our equipment and fabulous people up there and have fun exploring. We also are really interested in learning together, so we work with experts, that's Linda Huxley from Swift Conservation Ireland. She came down to teach us how to do some surveying of swifts, which I'll talk about very passionately in the next few minutes. We do biodiversity workshops out in Solstice, the local community garden. They've been fabulous to work with. And then we've also had a couple of events here as well, where we're just bringing people from different community groups to work together and to kind of hear what people are interested in and how we might learn, again, from each other. The types of projects that we work on are Wild About Swifts, Bower Sign, just up near Johnstown. No Mo May is a significant new project for us. Dispersed Urban Orchards, which I think is probably our favourite, along with the Boyne River Rain Gardens. I don't know if many people are familiar with swifts. To be honest, I didn't really know much about them until a couple of years ago, even though in Tull, County Carlow, where I grew up, there are swifts, but I never really had the appreciation for just how wonderful these really cool birds are. And through our work with our ecologist, we identified that swifts were do live here, but they're in rapid kind of decline across Ireland, so it's not just in Navan, they're red listed. And they're just the most fascinating birds. They come here around April every year and they leave just last week. So across the summer it's been amazing, again, for myself to be able to identify and hear these birds having lots of fun up in the sky. And now we kind of understand the seasons, I suppose, by even their exit. But they are in rapid decline, and we were like, well, what can we do, or what's happening here that we could kind of help them? So it turns out that by installing swift boxes, we can actually slow the decline here and try and kind of keep the population. The same swifts return to the same site every year, and the reason that they're specifically under threat is that where our new building works or restoration of old buildings, but maybe blocking their actual nesting sites. So we're trying to spend time finding out where do they live in all of the old buildings, and then if we have new buildings, how can we try to incorporate the new kind of swift boxes, or more recently there's swift bricks that you can add into any new building that will hopefully appeal to the swifts who are coming back. What we did learn is that there are swifts living in our awesome bridge, and I live on Academy Street, so it's kind of cool. Up at the top of my house, in the bathroom is the best place to see them. But when you're looking out, you can actually see, I think it's like 25 I've spotted this summer. All 25 don't live on the bridge, but they all hang out together, they have parties close by. But it's just really cool to see that they live there and have lived there for a really long time. And then our newer kind of effort to new habitats is in St. Anne's School, at the library building just beside us here, and at Bavinda House as well. So this year we've had real success with the install of the nest. It takes about 3 years for swifts to choose the location for their home, so we've got another couple of years before we see it goes effective. But we are hopeful. And again, we work with Swift Conservation Ireland and Birdwatch Ireland Meath, who've been really supportive to help us kind of understand and to kind of add their expertise to the situation. We're also interested in roadside verges, again, something I don't know I would have thought about a lot before, to be honest. I just drive past them. But they're unbelievable resources for wildlife, and they act as a great corridor and habitat for lots of different types of creatures, as well as our natural wildflowers. So we have done some work with Johnstown Tidy Towns to look at the verge just on Sion Road, or Boher Sion, and to kind of understand what does lie behind the tall grasses there. And we brought in not just ecologists but also geologists to look at the actual makeup of the soil, as well as kind of the land and the use there. And what we actually found was that there's 50 different species of plants that are on that big ugly mound that just sit on the side of the road. So instead of trying to do anything to it, we've actually decided that we just need to celebrate actually what lies there, and how we can kind of do better. So what we've done on the back of that is to advocate really for more kind of sustainable landscape management, and to try and kind of be very aware of who's there and how, or what is there, and how we can kind of better protect them. So rather than kind of cutting it all down, that we would actually just celebrate what lies there. And we're hoping to plant a hedgerow at the top of that space into winter this year, which will again further enhance the space. Just kind of on the back of that then is around the No More May campaign, which is all about doing nothing for nature, which sounds very appealing, I think, to the lazy maybe among us. And it's all about just not cutting your lawn. What we're asking is that, in the olden days, lawns weren't a thing, and maybe we should think about why. And we hope that it was because people thought that was beautiful, and how our kind of minds have shifted that everything has to be kind of neat and tidy. Maybe isn't the best approach for ourselves, and the stress that we put, the burden that we put on ourselves to get all of this work done, but also because it actually is beautiful if you kind of consider new ways of kind of looking or seeing. And we're advocating. We've had really great success this year thanks to Meath County Council, especially where we've kind of talked and looked at areas that might be appropriate to kind of test this out. And what we've had is activating a community of people, I suppose within the kind of professional piece, but also personally, where people are actually trialling it. And again, this is not a unique project to What About Navan. Lots of people are advocating for it. we're kind of jumping on the bandwagon. But we were there before On Post started, so but we are really interested in that, and it's all about just allowing kind of the wild plants and species to just thrive there. And again, the actual physical successes have been that there's orchids have been popping up in places that we never knew were there because we keep mowing the hell out of the lawn and we don't actually get to give them the time to kind of pop back up. So that's been really interesting. And again, what people are beginning to kind of acknowledge or appreciate more, myself included, is like just seeing beauty and kind of reframing what that kind of means for us. Our biggest project, I suppose in scale at least, is the dispersed urban orchards. So again, in most towns and villages across Ireland, orchards were kind of a key feature of childhood experiences and hopping over walls. And they've just kind of all begun to disappear as, and I'm not down on housing, but as housing estates and kind of demands for that land space becomes more urgent for housing and other things, then our trees have started to disappear. So we are looking at that and trying to kind of see, what can we do? We may not be able to build orchards in huge kind of scale, but we could build plant lots of tiny orchards across the town and help with kind of the wildlife corridors and attract pollinators. And it would be hopefully a food supply for the wildlife, but also for humans. What we have found is a species, a heritage apple tree called the Blood of the Boyne. And that was like, oh my God, we've arrived. This is like, there couldn't be more perfect. So it is a really kind of cool opportunity for us. We found the trees, we planted Blood of the Boyne trees, and they are beginning to thrive again in the town. So just here, it's some old maps, and it just kind of shows evidence of the orchards that would have been spotted across the town. I think for 2024, we're going to do a little bit more research into that to see if we can kind of identify some sites, and again, celebrate all that was and how can we kind of begin to leverage those stories and to build it out better. For us, it's about the link between food, heritage,